That might be it.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Libby Wallach, serving during this meeting as the President Pro Temp. It is Thursday, January 9th, 2025. Happy New Year. And we are in the Berlin room of the Olentangy Schools Administrative Offices. I would like to call this Board of Education meeting to order. Mr. Jenkins, please call the roll.
Dr. Wallach.
Here.
Mr. Lester.
Here.
Dr. Daberco.
Here.
Mr. O'Brien.
Here.
Ms. Schreiber.
Here.
All right, please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda for this meeting.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda for this meeting. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Jenkins, please call the roll.
Mr. Lester.
Yes.
Dr. Daberco.
Yes.
Dr. Wallach.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Ms. Schreiber.
Yes.
All right, the motion is adopted. We'll now accept nominations for the election of the board president and vice president. Nominations for board president are open. Are there any nominations for board president?
I would nominate Mr. Brandon Lester.
Mr. Brandon Lester is nominated. Are there any additional nominations for board president?
I'll add my name to it.
Nominations for board president are closed unless we have any additional names added for board president. Discussion? No. Got both. Well, we have two names.
No,
for,
I meant I was seconding.
you were seconding that.
Yes.
Okay, you threw. I mean, am I
Sorry,
the only one
sorry,
who heard
guys.
that? Look, I will
should've
add
been
my
clear.
name, and I'm like, well,
No.
keeping it interesting. Did you hear that?
Scandalous.
Okay. Well, we're good then. Okay.
Oh. Well, when you said any addition, I thought that meant
We just want to
we need
keep
a
it
second.
interesting in 2025, everybody. Okay.
Keeping everyone on their toes. Are you listening at board meetings?
Nominations for board president are closed. It is, Brandon Lester is the nomination. All right, Mr. Jenkins, could you please call the roll for the election of Mr. Lester for board president?
Dr. Daberco.
Yes.
Dr. Wallach.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Ms. Schreiber.
Yes.
Mr. Lester.
Abstain.
Congratulations, Mr. Lester.
Thank you.
When you have been elected the board president for 2025 calendar year, please step forward to take the oath of office. I told you.
I just want to make sure that you're on your toes.
So there is no I state your name or anything like that. I'll just read the paragraph and then you say you accept the duties. So do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Ohio, that you will faithfully and impartially discharge your duties as president of the Board of the Olentangy Local School District, Delaware County, Ohio, to the best of your ability and in accordance with the laws now in effect and hereafter to be enacted during your continuance in said office and until your successor is chosen and qualified? Say I do if you agree.
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. I will now accept nominations for board vice president. Nominations for board vice president are open. Are there any nominations for board vice president?
I'll nominate Dr. Kevin Daberco.
Okay. Dr. Kevin Daberco is nominated. Are there any additional nominations for board vice president? Hearing none, nominations for board vice president are closed. Mr. Jenkins, please call the roll for the election of Dr. Daberco for board vice president.
Dr. Wallach.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Ms. Schreiber.
Yes.
Mr. Lester.
Yes.
Dr. Daberco.
Abstain.
Congratulations, Dr. Dabrico. You have been elected the Board Vice President for the 2025 calendar year. Please step forward to take the oath of office.
Go ahead. Dr. Dabrico, do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Ohio, and that you will faithfully and impartially discharge your duties as Vice President of the Board of Education of the Olentangy Local School District, Delaware County, Ohio, to the best of your ability, and in accordance with the laws now in effect and hereafter to be enacted, during your continuance in said office and until your successor is chosen and qualified? Please affirm by saying, "I do."
I do.
With that, I'm going to pass the gavel in your direction,
thank
Mr.
you.
President.
All right, we will now move on to the approval of the following board action items. Board members, I'm going to recommend approval of the following board consent action items A through M. A, approval of the board meeting schedule for 2025. B, approval of board liaisons for 2025. C, reestablish board committees for 2025 and approve committee leadership and members. D, establish district organizations for 2025. E, establish board service fund for 2025. F, approval of membership in the Ohio School Boards Association for 2025. G, appoint board member Dr. Elizabeth Wallach to serve on the OSBA Board of Trustees for a one-year term. H, appoint Dr. Kevin Dabrico to serve on the Delaware Area Career Center Board of Education for a 3-year term effective January 1st, 2025. I, approval of membership in Meta Solutions for 2025 at no cost to the district. J, approval of treasurer authorizations for 2025. K, approval of superintendent authorizations for 2025. L, approval of purchasing agent for 2025. And M, approval of business and facilities authorizations for 2025. I'm asking you to approve these items as a single action and vote unless you'd like to discuss any of them separately. Would anyone like to discuss any of these separately? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve board action items A through M as one full group. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Actually, I think you were the first, so we need a second. Sorry, because I didn't make a motion.
I'll second.
Yes, so Dr. Gabrico and then Ms. Schreiber. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. Mr. Jenkins, please call the roll.
Ms. Schreiber?
Yes.
Mr. Lester?
Yes.
Dr. Dabrico?
Yes.
Dr. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes. All right, the motion's approved. Those action items are also approved. So I'll now entertain a motion to adjourn our organizational meeting. I will note that we're going to go straight into a full board meeting here right after this. Do I have a second? I'm
Second.
sorry, do I have a motion?
Motion.
Mr. Approve. Yes. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Mr. Jenkins, please call the roll.
Mr. Lester?
Yes.
Dr. Dabrico?
Yes.
Dr. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Ms. Schreiber?
Yes.
All right, this meeting's adjourned. All right, it is 6:39 PM. We'll call to order the first regular board meeting of 2025. We're here in the Berlin Room. I don't believe we have any, I'm sorry, Mr. Jenkins, can you please call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Lester?
Yes.
Dr. Dabrico?
Yes.
Dr. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Ms. Schreiber?
Here.
Yes.
Yes, I'm here.
We've been off for a couple of weeks and it shows, so. All right, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda. I don't believe we have any additions or corrections to that.
No.
All right, hearing none, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
And a second?
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? All right, hearing none, Mr. Jenkins, please call the roll.
Catching up. Dr. Dabrico.
Yes.
Dr. Wallach.
Yes.
Mr. Bryan.
Yes.
Ms. Schreiber.
Yes.
Mr. Lester.
Yes. All right, we just did the Pledge of Allegiance with our last meeting a minute ago, so we will head straight into the board president's report. I don't have a lot to say other than to thank my fellow board members for their confidence in electing me and Dr. Kevin Dabrico for our positions this year. Hopefully we are good representatives of the board in that regard. I do just want to thank everybody for all the work that it took to start school back up again after being off of break. It was a nice break. Hopefully everyone had a good time, and thank certainly the teachers and the staff and all the administrative team and everyone else for all the work to get it moving here. I know we had some hiccups with the snow days. My kids were very appreciative of that, but it's moving smoothly now, and we look forward to a great year. All right, we will then move straight into our presentation. Our one presentation of the evening, Mr. Gordon will be doing the 5-year capital plan annual update. Mr. Gordon.
Good evening and Happy New Year. So this plan will look very similar to the same format you've seen, and for those of you on the Facilities Committee, you've seen it a couple times as we've worked through. Given our current funding for permanent improvements and the amount of buildings that we have, we've had to get a little more creative this time around. Mr. Jenkins has been able to help us out with the general fund, moving some of that money to help fill our capital needs so that we don't have as much deferred maintenance, because we all know that deferred maintenance ends up costing us more in the long run. Even though we get minimal growth with our PI collections, our buildings are aging quicker, and the cost to maintain our buildings is aging quicker than what we're collecting with that. So again, we've had to get, I say, creative in how we're funding and meeting our current capital needs with, again, our buildings aging. And I keep pointing out that we've built 15 buildings from 2000 to 2011. And those buildings are now coming into where they're getting to the expensive part of their life cycles, where the roofs, mechanicals, those type of things are really starting to come and is going to continue to ramp up, as well as our other buildings continuing to age and have issues. Just one quick example is, Arrowhead Elementary is one where our air handling unit is still operating. We had to replace a huge fan motor to circulate air because while it was still operating, it wasn't operating as efficiently and pushing as much air as it was. And those are the things we're starting to see. We'll continue to have to change out to keep our buildings up to speed. So what you have in front of you, the normal items that we've seen at the top are in blue are the bond, and that's the remaining bond funds from the 2020 levy, where we help fund part of our PI through no new millage portion that was set aside for roofs, buses, and mechanicals. Those funds, the 5th year of that is this year, so that was running out, as well as having an increase in needs for that. So what you see on the next lines down, the orange lines, are actually the funds I mentioned that Mr. Jenkins allowed us to use for capital improvements, PI needs for those next 2 years for those same 3 items. So that's for keep the buses funded, the roofs funded, and the mechanicals funded as we had planned. That gets us through 2 more years. We have a couple other projects that have been out there. Remember last year we did a window replacement at several of our older buildings. This is the phase 2 of that. We are funding that through interest money from the bonds, as well as we're able to close out 2 of our 3 projects from our last levy, or bond issue, that was Shell Meadows and Berlin Middle School, with some funds that through working with our contractors to save contingency funds and to save some of those allowance funds that we didn't have to use that had been budgeted that's come back in. So the 2 projects in yellow are being funded using the funding from those 2 sources. Again, the windows at $675,000, and then we have some projects at Shanahan Middle School, which I'll discuss further here in just a minute. And then the rest you've seen. We allocate what I would call the buckets. We just move those funds between those annually, and even sometimes during the year if projects come up or some one bucket funds or needs go higher, and we have to decrease those. The Shanahan, before I get to that, other items that you're going to see in the next several board meetings, we've got items coming up. We've got the annual asphalt bid, the flooring bid, and the roofing bids that we do every year. So you're going to see those in the next couple of board meetings. Those will start coming in. We're going to resurface 2 athletic tracks this year out of the buckets. And then I discussed the window replacements already. Those are just listing out the schools that will do those window replacements at. Shanahan Middle School, I'll start this off by saying we're currently going through a process with the Facilities Committee to evaluate the long-term future of Shanahan. We're going to take a look at our build-out analysis that we get annually, along with our enrollment projections, and then looking at the need for all of the middle schools going forward and the cost to do some updating at Shanahan. I've mentioned at a previous board meeting, the board acted on going through the process of master planning with the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission. We started to get those reports back for the district. One of the first ones we got back was Shanahan, so now we have more information to do that analysis. So the Facilities Committee is going to spend the next several months working through that to try to come back with some direction on Shanahan and the long-term viability of that building. But currently, what we do know is that building's going to be here for at least another 10 years, maybe 20 years, however long that is. But we can't let that building sit, and it does have some needs for some updates. And that's what I have proposed up here, is we're going to do flooring replacements. We're going to renovate the restrooms. The restrooms, of all the things that we've done in that building, where we've renovated the mechanicals, the classrooms, the cabinetry was updated in 2009, or in the 1990s. We're going to hit the casework again because now that's 30 years old. It's not in great shape, so we'll hit that. But of all the things that we've done, the one thing that really hasn't been done at Shanahan is restroom renovations. They've done some updates where they've changed out urinals, they've changed out the restroom stalls, but we really haven't done full updates of those restrooms. So we're going to plan what will probably be a 2-year phase of restroom renovations for Shanahan, along with the flooring. We've already started the school sign replacement. We're working towards doing that with all middle schools. And then the front entry, we've got some updates we want to do there to help with just the appearance of the front of the building when people are approaching.
Mr. Lester, can we do questions
Yeah.
at each slide?
I think
Well, that's the last slide, so it's perfect.
that's it.
Questions?
Perfect. So is there a metric where, in what you do, where you're like, okay, once we get to this threshold, it's no longer financially responsible to continue to fix stuff as opposed to building new?
I think the model that the OFCC uses across the state, yes, they get to that point. They've got and I'm using them as an example, realizing they're not us, but they have buildings where they get to where it's they deem them to be unsafe, and they'll do an expedited program through the OFCC because there are buildings that are unsafe that districts haven't been able to maintain. The one older building we have is not in that. That's not the case with it. We've updated that so many times, did the renovations in the 90s where I talked about the casework and some of the flooring. 2006, 2007, we took out the univents that were in the wall and the water heat and went to the forced air and the boilers and the chiller, put air conditioning in. So we did all those things and have maintained Shanahan. So while I think that happens, Shanahan, we've done such a good job maintaining, that's gotten us to life where we're at now, and we've maintained that to try to keep equity across the district, because knowing we're still going to have kids in Shanahan, we want them to have the same quality of facilities that we're building across the district, so we've tried to do that. So I think there does come a time for that.
How do they measure that?
With the OFCC, they'll do an assessment to renovate and the cost to renovate, and they will, if the cost to renovate is 66% or more than 66% to build new, they will not help you fund a building. They'll require you to build new. That's their metric for that. And that's part of what the Facilities Committee, we had that discussion last night at the meeting. That's part of what we'll work through and talk about. And is it an OFCC renovation or a targeted renovation through the district? Because again, just like we did the analysis for High School 5 of whether the OFCC program is a program for us to build to those standards versus what we currently do. So there's a lot of moving pieces and parts that will go into that analysis, and we got a good start last night of kind of laying out what the goal is and what we have to look at, and so we'll start working through that.
And just so people understand that may not be familiar with OFCC, they offer some funding opportunities that can help defray district costs, but they have certain standards that you have to comply with that aren't always the way that we might want to do things. So it's an analysis of, how does that work with what we're trying to provide relative to the funding that they may be able to do?
Correct. And our buildings aren't built to those standards. We build good buildings, solid buildings. We don't meet some of the green standards that the OFCC requires, which is part of the additional cost. And so we work through that with them, but you're correct, to meet that program, in our case, some districts that are qualified currently for funding, they will help fund and build the building right away. In our case, if we would build a building or do an OFCC qualified renovation, they would give us, when we qualify down the road, they would then give us a credit back on the cost that we spent.
Where's our percentage at with them?
They haven't locked it in. They said it's going to be somewhere between 21 and 23%.
And they base that on,
A very complicated formula that involves equity in the district, the district's ability to fund, the demographics in the district, several factors that go into that I don't have 100% understanding of all components, but those are the factors that go into it.
It's generally the wealth of your district.
so that hurts us.
Yes. That's where we're 21 to 23%. I know a district I was at years ago, we did an OFCC project, and that was a 45-55 split.
To be clear, not the wealth of the money the school district
Right,
has,
right, right.
the wealth of the community.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, just, I've really appreciated being a member of the Facilities Committee for the last year, and I know part of the discussion we had previously with OFCC as well is that they don't fund everything. They'll fund maybe part of the building itself, but all of the other things that make a school community, like the track and other buildings, the gym, things like that, would be all on us as well.
Right. We can build a gym, but you can't necessarily build two gyms. High school analysis involved an auditorium. We build an auditorium. The OFCC doesn't fund an auditorium. They'll fund a stage like we do in the middle school, but they won't fund an auditorium. They don't fund any athletic fields. They'll fund, when you do your site prep, you can grade the fields as part of your site prep, but they won't fund anything going vertical with that. So that's one of the harder parts about the analysis, because when you look at what they say the cost that they'll build a school for versus what we put into that, we got to back that out and get an apples and apples comparison when we're doing that. So,
Do they still have a ranking of like 1 through 6? Where are we at with that? Do you remember?
I don't. I knew that when we did the.
Not top 10.
We're not the top 10, and they've worked their way quite a way through. They have said we could come up for funding in the next 10 years, if not sooner. A lot of that's based on districts that have qualified but haven't taken the funding because they haven't been able to pass a levy or even get the community or the school board to move forward with proposing it. So we've moved through quicker than we would have expected because there's districts out there that haven't taken it. Now, if they get a rash of districts that suddenly start passing levies, and they will have to, since they've promised them, they'll have to get them first. But once we sign on, we would get the funding, but up until the point that we sign on, anybody else that's already approved that gets a levy passed would go ahead of us. So, but while those are sitting out there, we're moving up the ranking quicker than we would have expected.
Just one quick clarification I have here especially with the Shanahan projects. Just to be clear, when we did the levy in the spring of last year, there were certain projects for Shanahan that were going to be included in that. This work that is currently being proposed here is not the full list of things that was listed in that levy. There was a new stage, there was other stuff there that is not able to be done because of this, because of how we have to watch those
Correct.
funds in terms of
Correct.
what we're doing. But just to be clear, that there are some things we have to do, just general upkeep.
Yeah, again, the biggest part is trying to keep that equity for students that are attending other middle schools across the district at Shanahan. So we've always tried to keep that up, and it's just now we're at a cycle where we've got to start doing some of that. But you're correct, these items were included in that list. Not all of them are necessarily broken out, but in that dollar figure value that we put to doing Shanahan, and knowing that if Shanahan's a long-term solution, that more money would have to go into it. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Just the last thing I would add is that I know that people have very strong feelings about Shanahan, and I would encourage families, parents, anybody who might be listening out there, if they want to join the Facilities Committee, especially if they have a background in construction, electricians, architects, that sort of thing, that we really need some new members, as we have some members who are kind of ending their terms as committee members, and we always need, plenty of hands to add their voice to, the future of the district.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's part of our discussion with the Facilities Committee will be, is there a piece or a component of Shanahan that there would be a need to maintain going forward that would be of value to the district?
All right, thank you, Mr.
You're welcome.
Mr. Meyer, the superintendent's report.
Again, thanks, Mr. Gordon, for his presentation, and he and his team, they do a really good job of maintaining facilities throughout the district, and I do want to recognize our Facilities Committee because that's a unique committee that we have within our district that community members add expertise and make recommendations to us as a district and to you as the board. So with that, congratulations, Mr. Lester, on being re-elected president, Dr. Dabrico, vice president. For sure appreciate your leadership, and last year appreciated from my role as superintendent working with both of you as well as all the board members, but looking forward to a great 2025. So with that, a few recognitions. Want to recognize 71 Olentangy Liberty High School band students who traveled to London. Again, I say this many times, there's so many things that happen within our district and experiences that are afforded to our students, and these are types of things that they'll remember forever. But we had 3 groups. So the marching band there performed in the London New Year's Day Parade. Concert band performed in the London Concert Series at St. John Smith Square, and the jazz ensemble, which was one of only 2 performing groups chosen to perform for that event there at the London Concert Series. So congratulations to Liberty Band members, and they traveled over to London and all came back safe. So wanted to recognize them.
Mr. Hicks, I can't even imagine how they plan, where you even start with this, but really what pulls us off is so many parents went, and there was such a small amount of kids for each parent. Every kid had someone they knew they could go to, so unbelievable event that at 7 a.m. on New Year's Day, we could watch our Liberty kids marching in London, England, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
So it was really
Yeah.
cool.
Great.
On PBS, no less.
Yeah, great experience. So again, thanks for bringing that up, because we have, our parents are tremendous in the community too, who offer their service and support to help chaperone. Also want to recognize that this is pre-holidays with the wild lights there at the zoo, but we had 3 student performance groups, Shanahan Middle, Cheshire Elementary, and Liberty Tree Elementary, who sang their little hearts out there at the zoo and performed very well for, the thousands of people who attend the zoo lights every year. Want to recognize, I want to thank the Delaware County Commissioners, because they invited Liberty High School football head coach, Mr. Sansbury, and 2 captains, Andrew Leonard and Austin Stamp, to recognize them for the Division I state championship. So I was able to attend that as well. One of many great honors that Liberty High School football team has received over the last month since winning the state championship. Also, congratulations to Ms. Katie Silcott, choir teacher from Shanahan Middle School. So she is a top 10 finalist for the 2025 Music Educator Award presented Recording Academy and Grammy Museum. So I'll say this, top 10 finalists were selected from more than 2,400 nominations submitted from 49 states across the country. The Music Educator Award is open to current U.S. music teachers. Anyone can nominate a teacher, including students, parents, friends, colleagues, community members, school deans, and administrators. So we wish her luck. I think the final here coming up as far as the winner. So we'll keep our fingers crossed and wish her luck. Superintendent action items. we have, looks like 5 retirements, and I said this last time, I think it was 125 years represented from our retirees at the last board meeting. So this board meeting with our 5 retirees here, Brenda Doyle, Barbara Endress, Raymond O'Neill, which is Doug O'Neill from Liberty High School, Edward Dempsey, and Deborah Royer, 111 years of service to Olentangy students and families. So thousands of students and many, many families over the years. So I want to thank them for their service and all that they've done and the impact that they've had throughout their career. Also, business management facilities item, I'm going to recommend approval of a memorandum of understanding for a sanitary easement. That's going to be a discussion item following Mr. Jenkins here. So Mr. Gordon will come back up. I want him to show you what that project entails there at Berlin High School. Important dates. Tomorrow, second quarter report cards are available in Power School. So that's Friday, January 10th. Believe it or not, kindergarten registration opens next Monday, so Monday, January 13th, already for next year. So I'll put this into context too for the board. So since the beginning of the year, we have already in Olentangy added 200 students. So we're plus 200 students since the beginning of the year. So half the school year, we've added 200. And here in Olentangy, we'll continue to add students throughout the school year. Along with kindergarten registration. Our preschool peer model information night is Monday, January 13th as well, right here at the Olentangy Administrative offices. And I want to highlight 2 important community events: MLK Junior Day of Service, which is Monday, January 20th, 9 to 11 here at the administrative offices, and that information is online with the different organizations that you can donate to. And then obviously we do not have school that day on January 20th, and we will be back here on January 23rd at 6:30 for a regular Board of Education meeting.
Any questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Meyer.
Okay.
Mr. Jenkins.
I'll say while he's walking out there that Ms. Silcott is amazing at Shanahan, and I was there at the Wild Lights. She just always brings so much energy, and all of the Shanahan kids are lucky to have her.
So she's very deserving, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Good evening, board members. My report this evening is exceptionally brief. We just want to make sure that you're aware and the community is aware that the PAFR, which when we submit it to GFOA, we keep that name, but really we try to help the community understand. We do sometimes alphabet soup in education. Really what we're providing them, as you can see, is an annual financial summary report, and then below that you can see the subheading of popular annual financial report. It will be for the fiscal year that ended June 30th of 2024. This one actually gets mailed to every district resident, and it's a very nice looking document, collaboration between the communications team and the Treasury, and ultimately when it's all said and done, to produce such a high quality informative document for about 50 cents a copy is pretty phenomenal. So I know we had some questions one year as to the level of expense that we went to. When you break it down in that it is going to close to 50,000 homes, it's roughly 50 cents per copy. Questions about the PAFR?
I just want to highlight what a tremendous document this is, right? I mean, we talk a lot about transparency as a district. When you look at this, it is jam-packed with information. It is clear, it's understandable, and if there's something that people don't feel like they need to get beyond that, I know that your office is so proactive in providing things, but there is just about any question that you might have about district finances is in that. So thank you for putting that together. Thank you for making it understandable and clear and getting it out to everyone.
I appreciate that, and I want to thank Amanda Beeman, Christian, and also Krista Davis for all the help that they put into this, because we really work hard and there's a lot of back and forth, but it turns out to be a phenomenal document. So we're really proud of that. The action items then, are just the approval of the December 11th minutes, acceptance of the 2024 monthly financials for the month of November, the annual comprehensive financial report, which if the PAFR is our finances light, this is the finances heavy. If you really want to dive into that, it's over 180 pages. Stick with the PAFR, it's a lot easier. And then ultimately, we are accepting $72,935 from the Olentangy Education Foundation for the grants that they provide each year for teachers. And I'm sorry I didn't mention that his last name is Ross. Sorry, Christian. I said Christian, didn't fill in the rest of it. But any other questions?
All right.
I just want to thank the Olentangy Education Foundation, too,
Yes.
For sure.
the work that they do throughout the year and the amount of dollars that they donate to Olentangy schools and to our teachers in the classroom, which helps enhance the educational experience for our students. So they do a phenomenal job, and for sure want to publicly thank them for all the work that they do.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
All right.
There's no public participation this evening.
All right, sounds good. So we'll move right into our discussion item, and we'll welcome Mr. Gordon back up to talk about the Estates at Berlin Memorandum of Understanding.
Okay. So one of the disadvantages of us being one of the first ones in when we build schools is we're constantly revisiting this easement discussion. At Berlin High School, where this easement's at, just as a reminder, we brought the sanitary line up to the east side of Berlin High School, and then as it developed to the north, MI and the other developers extended it up further north and across the front of our property, about halfway. And we generally are agreeable to giving these because at some point the county needs it, so we work closely with the county. We have good relationship with them. While we do these easements with the developers, it's actually the county that the easement will be given to for the sanitary. So it'll be a county extension of a sanitary line at Berlin High School that just extends what's already been extended once by developers since we've built up there. Here is the pathway for the line in red. Now, the district owns a small tract of land where the line runs perpendicular to Berlin Station Road. You see Berlin High School top, Berlin Station down the front of it. And when we built Berlin High School, we left that small tract of land wooded because we didn't want to build right up against the neighbors that were there. But because we didn't want to run this sanitary line through our practice fields, it will be run right through that property. So it works out well that we left that area undisturbed as kind of a buffer. We can run this, they can extend the sewer line through there and not impact our practice fields or anything of that nature. The value, that what the district gets for this MOU, and the reason for an MOU versus the easements now, part of the developer's financing and part of the county agreeing to let him move forward is getting something an agreement with the district so that they know they're not approving something and then they can't get easements to get there. So that's why you get the MOU now. Future meetings will approve the easements. And again, one easement will be to the county. There's likely to be a construction easement to Alto, giving them permission to construct on our property. If we can package that as one, we'll do that. There's walk paths that we've asked them to build in here, so we may need to give them a third easement, construction easement, to build the pathway on our property. So one thing I've learned as we've done these easements, though, is every time a development builds next to our buildings, it ends up being an issue for us because students start walking, parents then want a walk path. So I've tried to go back to the developers and ask them for those walk paths. So in addition to the $23,200 that the appraiser has said that's the value of the easement that they're taking, they have also agreed to extend a walk path from the development there is to the west of our building. So it butts up against the baseball fields at the high school and then abuts up to where the stadium is at the middle school. So they're going to extend at their cost a walkway down around the practice field at Berlin Middle School to our walk path that goes from Berlin Middle School down to the baseball fields that then connects to Cheshire. There's a crosswalk there. So any student in that development as an elementary or middle school student can walk directly with this path to the building. So we should not have to ever transport these students. So that's another advantage to us, giving that easement that they're going to build there one way or another, we're at least getting the benefit of getting the pathway in and then having that transportation in place. The other part of that they agreed to do was, you see at the top, there's a short stub coming out between their houses to the high school. That's for a future high school path that we would build at our cost. Presumably, the $23,000 they're giving us for the easement would go towards building that. Right now, we're building the baseball hitting facilities being built there. Our maintenance building's being rebuilt after the tornado, and then we have a future proposed project that will be coming to the board, presented to the Facilities Committee last night, that's also going there. So we'll get all of those built and get all of those things settled before we extend that path to the high school.
What's the timeline on this?
They want to start this, I believe, this coming spring, well, this spring, summer timeframe to get the infrastructure in place.
Is it done by football season or?
That path, I would believe so. I don't know that for certain, but it won't impact anything that won't impact practices or anything going on our properties. You can see it goes down to the north end of those practice fields. There's a slope down to a drainage. It'll be between the drainage and the top of the slope, the practice fields. There's a net that runs along there. So all this work will actually occur on the other side of the net. So north of the net, away from the practice field. So it shouldn't interrupt anything that we're doing, and it's below to the north. It's further north than the band practice field. It's closer to the road.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Gordon.
You're welcome.
Mr. Jenkins, we'll move to the treasurer consent action items.
Yes, tonight's treasurer's consent action items. Item A is the approval of the December 11th, 2024 meeting minutes. Item B, recommending the acceptance, of the November 2024 monthly financials. Item C, approval of the Olentangy Schools Annual Comprehensive Financial Report for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2024. Item D, approval of the Olentangy Schools Popular Annual Financial Report, again ended June 30th, 2024. And then item E, recommend approval of the donations that were listed. As normal, items A through E are being presented to you and asking you to accept them by one single motion and action, unless board members would like to pull out and discuss any item or items separately.
Would anyone like to discuss any of these separately? Nope. Hearing none. All right, can I have a motion to approve as one item?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, Mr. Jenkins?
Dr. Dabrico?
Yes.
Dr. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Ms. Schreiber?
Yes.
I will also say yes. Did you call me? I don't think you called me. Oh. No, I meant called for the
Same.
vote.
For the vote.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought I did, didn't I?
We are all off our game today.
I don't know. It's
Well-
been a night already. All right, Mr. Meyer.
Mr. Lester?
Yes.
I sure thought I did.
Did he? Maybe I got lost.
No, maybe I didn't, I don't know.
All right, Mr. Meyer, can you present the consent action items, the superintendent's consent action items?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Lester. Board members, I recommend approval of the following superintendent consent action items A through G: specific human resource items, certified staff; specific human resource items, supplementals; C, specific human resource items, classified staff; D, specific human resource items, classified substitutes; E, approval of students for early graduation; F, approval of student overnight out-of-state field trips; G, approval of business management and facility items, which is the Berlin Memorandum of Understanding. I'm asking you to approve these items by one single action and vote, unless you'd like to discuss any of these items separately.
Would anyone like to discuss these separately? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
And a second? I'll second it. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, Mr. Jenkins.
Dr. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Ms. Schreiber?
Yes.
Mr. Lester?
Yes.
Dr. Dabrico?
Yes.
All right, I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Any second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, hearing none, Mr. Jenkins.
Mr. Lester?
Yes.
Dr. Dabrico?
Yes.
Dr. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Ms. Schreiber?
Yes.
All right, we're adjourned.
Right. I don't